Thank you for being here. I want to thank Jimi Gureje and Brianna and everyone involved for letting me have this record release reception hang and art slideshow and interview and meet and greet. I wanted to not do the usual like play a show record release and then I'm like out of it and can't actually socialize and converse on a normal level.
Right.
I want to actually interact with people, so this is why it's not like, what?
It would have been nice.
It would have been nice? Yeah, but I would have been off in unable to...
But you find a way.
More inarticulate than I already am. So with me is a dear friend and colleague and legend in his own right, Mr. Vernon Reid.
Hey.
Woo! I asked if he would interview me, and he graciously accepted the challenge and invitation. And so hopefully it'll go well. So.
Well, it's funny because it's, interview is a word that connotes, I mean, there's a certain formality, and there's an idea of getting information, and I kind of think more of a discussion with both guitarists. We both been playing for a fairly long time. First question, how long have you been playing the instrument? When did you start playing?
1991, so 23 years.
You started playing in 1991?
91.
Wow.
What were you doing in 1991?
I was playing guitar in 1991.
You're already playing.
But how old are you? Well, how old are you now?
34.
Okay. So you started. So I can't do the math.
I was 11 when I started.
You were 11. So when you were 11, 11 is young. I mean, I know a lot of musicians start very young. They start.
Well, I was already. That was my third instrument.
Ah, see.
I was playing keyboard. I didn't do the piano lessons then, but my mom bought me a keyboard when I was maybe 7-ish.
Okay.
Little Yamaha thing. It had a Billy Joel song as the demo. I love you just the way you are.
Just the way you are. One of the most impressive songs.
No, it was awesome and I
hate that song.
I love that song.
It's my least song. This is funny. You love that song, of course, because I find Just the Way You Are one of the most oppressive songs ever written.
Oppressive?
Oppressive, completely oppressive. But I need to know that you'll always be the same old someone that I knew. Don't go trying soft new fashions, don't change the color of your hair. You always have my unspoken passion, although I might not seem to care.
Whatever.
But it's funny because that song on the surface, it's a very romantic song and it's a very sentimental song. And I heard it and I thought, man, this guy's got his boot heel on this woman's neck. Was one thing she says, he talks about, part of the lyric is, what's the way he talks about, it's like basically don't challenge me. Like don't challenge me. And a lot of songs, romantic songs have this funny, which is not to, now I'm saying that's my own view. But why do you like the song?
I just like the melody, I like the chord structure.
It's a beautiful melody.
It hits me as being sentimental.
It's a beautiful melody.
And I'm a schmuck for sentimental.
A schmuck? No, you're not a schmuck for being sentimental. That's
a little bit.
There are other ways that you could be a schmuck, but not sentimental.
But anyway, then I studied violin.
You studied violin?
I did. Yeah.
How long did you play violin?
A couple of years. I got kind of good at it,
but it didn't
guitar had to be.
What was the first guitar sound? What was the first guitar playing that attracted you to the instrument?
Was there a song?
I don't remember
what it was, but I remember being too young to have any memory of it and hearing or seeing something on television. It was probably, it could have been Van Halen or somebody of that
ilk.
Yeah, right? But I just remember thinking like,
Hot for Teacher.
Wow, that's like the
Hot for Teacher. Was it Hot for Teacher?
No, probably, I don't even know. When that came out, I was like 4 years old, so I could have seen that and just in this abstract blur of, you know.
Wow.
So no, but it almost seemed like sorcery, like magic, and it was like the highest of the creative outlets that I could see at that time. Like, oh, could I be like that? Maybe, probably not. And I didn't even like go for that really until years later.
Well, you know, that's very funny that you say that. It seems like sorcery and magic was, because that was in a lot of ways how guitar attracted me. Like the first guitarists that I remember hearing were Carlos Santana and Jimi Hendrix. You know,
yeah, I mean those were the guys I first, like when I got into guitar, got into that. All the usual suspects. Yeah.
All of the usual suspects.
Santana, Hendrix, Zappa, which was my first concert.
Wow.
My mom took me.
Wow. Let's hear from Ben's mom. Let's hear from Ben's mom. Wow, my mom would have taken me to my first concert, which was Power and Funkadelic. My mom wasn't having none of that. So I give your mom just 2 snaps up of that.
And you know, Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck,
Sure.
all those guys, Eric Clapton,
Sure.
And then I got into the jazz thing like pretty hard. Pat Martino, George Benson, Ron Afif, Joe Diorio, you know.
Joe Diorio.
I had a book in college, and I burned through the whole book. I like loved that.
Was it Intervallic Designs?
Yeah.
Intervallic Designs.
Awesome.
It's funny because that's a very interesting touch tone that we share. It's Intervallic Designs by guitarist Joe Diorio is kind of genre defying.
Yeah.
It's kind of style. It's so such a different approach to linearity.
Yeah.
Using the guitar as kind of designs, the kind of shapes.
Yeah.
You know, I still find those exercises very important.
Yeah.
You know, like Joe Diorio, Ted Green, chord chemistry. You know, those are some of the educational sources that are very effective. So, do you remember your first? Did you take lessons? Or you were
Not
yourself?
initially. I took them like 3 years after I started. I was just kind of self-taught for the first 3 years.
Sure.
I was writing songs,
Wow.
singing songs. I had a lot of song ideas, and I was kind of using the guitar to write songs. And
I
experimenting.
know you sing. You can sing.
I could sing better then than I do now.
How's that possible? Oh, you can sing better than
I do now.
I'm just repeating whatever you said.
I'm slowly getting back into it. Like I've started writing songs again, like saying yes to the background vocal thing on gigs, and you know. So yeah, that was kind of the origin. I probably started taking proper lessons when I was about 14, and it was very kind of basic, you know, cowboy chord, folk songs. And I don't know what happened. I just got really into it. And it was like a sponge.
Who was your, okay, did you have a teacher, okay, did you take lessons and then go on to be self-taught? Or
Yeah,
did
no, so-
Did you have a teacher that had an impact?
So when I was growing up in DC, there was an art school. That the elementary school and middle school that I went to, we had this like art school that we would go to half the day every week. And you could pick classes, and you know, depending on how many kids were choosing what, like you would get placed in 2 1.5-hour long art classes a week, right? And I guess I got one of them when I was 14, and it was guitar. I was like, oh, I'm already kind of playing a little bit. And yeah, once I got in that formal this is what this is called, this is how you're supposed to do this. It just kind of took off. And eventually I went to like a magnet art school, Duke Ellington School of the Arts in DC, and auditioned with like Stairway to Heaven. And I had the sheet music and I knew it, and you know, then I got into jazz there. I was not trying to study jazz, but it just like got.
It just got in.
Like, because we used to have these student DJs that would play. There was a radio station for the school,
Right.
and they would, if you were, I guess, in the audio department, you could be a DJ, and you could spin in between classes. And so people would spin just like, you know, anything, like stuff that was out at the time, classic rock, hip hop, punk, and a lot of jazz. And I noticed, you know, in between classes, the swing things were really getting its hooks into it slowly but surely. And up until maybe my senior year, it was just kind of like, okay, I'm here, I have to study this, but I really got into it. I went on and went to college for it. I don't know, yeah. But I don't really consider myself a jazz guitarist. I mean, it's in there.
It's in the big. When you play a variety of styles. I mean, I heard you play. I mean, pretty much all contemporary styles. I've heard you play classical. I've heard you play kind of Tuck Andrews style solo guitar. I've heard you play with your altered tuning things, very abstract, surrealistic kind of style. I've heard you play rock. I've heard you play blues. I've heard you play a variety of styles. And one of the things about that is playing a variety of styles. Do you feel yourself consciously shift? Like I'm playing fill in the blank, or is it more you just apply yourself? Or that's a funny, because some players, you know, there's certain things idiomatic, and you apply yourself to the idiom, or do you just find yourself playing and the shift is more subtle when you're not thinking idiomatically?
I think it's like a subtle groove thing, you know. It's very subtle, but it's very noticeable if you're in it or not in it, you know.
Right.
Like a couple days ago, I played a gig. It was mostly like R&B covers, right? And I hadn't done something like that in a while. I mean, I've done a lot of that kind of thing, but I had to like shift my internal rhythm just a little bit off, because I hadn't been playing that kind of stuff. When you play jazz, you're like in another group, you know, but internally, like feeling that. So, I mean, I try not to think idiomatically, but sometimes you have to. You know, sometimes it's expected of you, and it's part of the job or whatever.
Right.
You know, I think it depends on how much freedom I have. Like with my own stuff, I like to not be thinking about any of that stuff and just go, and whatever comes out, like on the record, whatever comes out, comes out.
I actually want to ask you about one song specifically on your new record, Acquisition.
Yeah.
I love the melody, the head of Acquisition. And what struck me about the song Acquisition is that I felt listening to it, it reminded me of one of Thelonious Monk's movies.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm listening to it and I thought, oh, this is melody. Sounds like a song that Thelonious Monk never wrote, but I could totally hear him playing that.
I think at the time I wrote it, I was actually heavily studying Black Ballad around the time I wrote that. Like, and as heavily as you could be studying something. Like, I have these binges where I just will latch on to an artist and go in. I'm reading books about them. I'm listening to all their records.
Total immersion.
Transcribing their stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm dreaming about them. And Bud Powell was a huge impact on me in my early 20s. had a dream about it. That was like life.
What happened?
Life
what happened?
changing.
What happened? Did you meet Bud Powell?
I met Bud Powell. We're in a club.
In your dreams.
I'm in this club listening to Bud Powell, right? He's improvising. He's gone. He's just going, right? And I'm looking around the room, and he's also sitting here, like next to me.
So Bud Powell was playing the piano, but he was sitting. He was
Yeah, he was out of his body, because I used to think of him as like a channel. He used to channel his improvisations. I just had that. I don't know. You know, who knows? But I always had that feeling about it. And in a dream, he's right there, and we make eye contact. And I'm like swelling up with all these questions to ask him, like, oh, you know, it's like the
like no one is housing that you're playing the piano, you're sitting next to him.
Right. No, not that. Just about his music. You know, how do you do what you do? Blah 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 blah. And he gives me this look in the dream that just like piercing my core, and says nothing. And then all of a sudden my mind goes quiet, and it's like, that was it. Like, shut off the mind. Stop asking questions. There's no analytical way that you're going to get it, right? Like, you can study it, right? But it's, and I woke up and I'm like crying. And it just changed the whole way I approach music, you know. And I wrote a lot, I was composing a lot, I did some visual art stuff based around him, but I actually was not in this slideshow. But yeah, so that's just kind of one of those things. One of those weird things. I don't know.
Doesn't seem weird to me. But then
yeah, so acquisition was kind of around that time.
So acquisition was really for you more the presence of Bud Powell. But it's funny to me because
him and Monk were contemporaries. They were very influenced by each other. And there's a lot more of the Monk intervallic kind of comical stuff in that melody.
Yeah,
right?
That's why
Bud didn't really use a lot. I mean, he did, but Monk was really the king of that. But it was around that time, and the piece kind of came to me, and acquisition.
It's a great song. It's a great blues, a great jazz blues, and I think a lot. So I want to ask you. So we often find ourselves on stage together in the band Burn Sugar. The conceptual big band led by the writer Greg Tate. And I've played as a guest. I've also been a conductor for the band. And I wanted to ask you, when did you meet Greg, and how did you get sucked into the vortex? That is.
Oh, this is an interesting story.
That's why I'm asking the question. I'm hoping
I came to New York to play with people like you and your contemporaries, people doing a certain thing, right? I was looking for the Knitting Factory tonic kind of downtown thing when I moved here. Bitches Brew was my soundtrack to all my fantasies about how I was going to move to New York and become a musician, a New York musician. And when I first moved here, the second neighborhood I lived in was Harlem. And I used to go to Kim's a lot, right? And I was in there one day, and one of the Burnt Sugar CDs was playing. It was that double, I don't even remember what it's called. It's like a double record.
So many Burnt Sugar CDs.
I mean, I have it at home, but I don't even remember. It's like the title's not even on.
Is it the Negrosity CD?
No, it's not that.
That's much later.
Anyway, I'm listening to this. I'm like looking around Kim's, I'm listening to this, and I'm thinking, what is this? And I go and I find out what I asked them, Burnt Sugar. I'm like, who are they? Oh, they're a New York band. And the guy working at Kim's let me look at the liner. I'm a big liner notes guy, right? I mean, I don't have like the photographic memory, but when I was getting into music, I needed to read through the liner notes. So I saw all these people. I saw your name. I saw all these people I knew about that I really respected. I'm like, I should be in this band. I'm going to be in this band. And I bought the record. I was listening to it for a couple of years. So a couple of years later, I meet Greg somewhere in Harlem. I meet Greg, and it just so happens we're sitting outside in the summer, just the two of us, right? And I have my iPod. And I'm like, yeah, Greg, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out we both went to Howard. So there's that talking point. And yeah, I was like, you want to listen to some of my stuff? Sure. And he loved it, and I said, I want to play with the band. I sit in sometime. And, you know, invited me to one of the comic shows. I sat in, and slowly I got in the band. And that's how that happened.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. Burnt Sugar is, you know, it's funny because Burnt Sugar is very much the product of, I would say, there's three distinct groups. The Art Ensemble of Chicago, on the one hand, the Sun Ra Orchestra, on the other hand, and Harlem and Funkadelic.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that for Greg, and to a lesser degree, Miles Davis around the time Bitches group.
Right.
And it's funny because Burnt Sugar really is exactly the way Greg feels about music. I mean, it's literally exactly like when I first met Greg K, the things he talked about, like Burnt Sugar, is actually all of those things.
Right.
And it's interesting the way you fit into what that is, because you're one of the players that helps the thing cohere. You know what I mean? I mean, in a way, because it can fly off. Right. And so, you know, and for something like this to be successful, there really needs to be a kind of spine or underlying structural touch tone that kind of, while it's kind of doing all of that. And I found, you know, whether I'm playing on a bandstand or conducting or listening, like you're one of the elements that helps it cohere, and that makes all the other elements that are swimming around, flying off, work.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I always...
There's no question, it's just a statement.
Well, thank you for that. I agree.
I guess, you know, there's a question, you know, so you play both Les Paul scale guitar. This is very guitar geeky.
We're getting into guitar.
Yeah, go there.
Yeah, well, it's you know, because there are a few players that are pretty much exclusively associated with one scale length or one style of guitar. You know, guitars, I mean, there are many different types of guitars, but in terms of electric guitars, they're basically kind of two schools. There's the sort of Gibson scale thing, which kind of includes Paul Reed Smith guitars and things like that. And then there's a Strat style scale, which includes, you know, the Jacksons and all the rest, you know, G&Ls and things like that. And you play both.
Right.
How do you feel about that? What's going on there?
That comes from, I didn't could play either for a long time, either Fender or Gibson. I kind of just had to play whatever I could get.
What was your first electric guitar?
Electric?
Yeah.
It was like some cheap Ibanez copy.
You know, Zimgar
It was some cheapo, like Ibanez knockoff, right?
Right.
Electric guitar. I had like, my first guitar was an acoustic guitar. It was like a half-size acoustic guitar in really bad condition. And
No, that wasn't your first guitar.
oh, well, the first guitar I had, I made it out of cardboard and rubber
Contradicting
bands.
your story. What?
My first guitar was made of cardboard and rubber bands when I was a wee little lad, but it didn't work. It didn't play. I tried to make a guitar.
Out of cardboard and dreams.
Cardboard, rubber bands, and dreams. Yeah. So my wife likes that story. So that's why she said that. But
What was your first decent electric guitar? First guitar that you felt
it was.
like your voice came through.
I had an Epiphone SG in high school that I really liked, but I felt that it was tonally kind of limiting. And after
That's not the first one.
No, but I'm getting to, and then in college I got a Gibson 135 that I really loved. I mean, that was an awesome guitar. So that was probably my first really, yeah, and I loved that one. But I was doing so many things that required like, feedback and pedals, and the hollow bodies kind of are tough for that. So the Les Paul I have, I've actually had about maybe 12 or 15 years. So yeah, that one I've kept. A lot of guitars have come and gone and have been sold for rent and various. But I always kept the Les Paul. I got into the Fender thing maybe 5 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, after just listening to a lot of guitar players and really craving that tone. And, actually my Strat is not one of the nicer ones. It's like
of yours?
It's like that are out there. It's a souped up Mexican Strat.
Well,
from eBay.
Well, a lot of cheap guitars are not the way they used to be. I mean, it used to be the cheap guitars were literally the worst guitars you could get.
Right.
And now cheap guitars are much better than cheap guitars of the past.
Yeah.
The best guitars are still the best. But, inexpensive guitars are actually a lot of them pretty good. Tell me about your painting.
I don't know what to say about it. It's kind of just like a hobby. Yeah, I don't know. It's like a secret little hobby I've had. I haven't done much of it, but it's one of these things. It's like I put so much thought into the music. I take that so seriously that I just, off and on in life, need to have some kind of outlet that I do not take seriously at all.
So you don't take your painting seriously at all?
Well, I do in that, like, I would never.
I mean, your paintings, I think, are pretty good.
Yeah. It's just like I like doing it. I enjoy doing it, and I experience synesthesia, right? I don't know.
Right.
I'm sure you know what that is.
Yes.
I mean, isn't that your tour is called that?
Yeah, well, that's a longer story.
But the thing where colors and sounds might flare up your taste buds, or sounds give you a sense of color, right? So painting is just kind of another.
So what does that painting sound like?
I don't know, but it has a taste.
What does that painting taste like?
That one, I'd rather not say what that one.
You'd rather not say what that painting tastes like.
Blueberry. I don't know. It's always different.
You're lying. You know what it tastes like.
I don't know.
You also want to say.
It's always different, and it's not like anything specific. It's just like
Is it edible?
I don't know. But I think there's a stronger connection between sound and color. You know, seeing sound. Not like literally seeing it, but sensing it, perceiving it in some way.
Okay, so actually, with that in mind, what for you is blue in music?
Well, then we got to go into key centers. Because every key center for me, whether it's major, minor, or whatever, has a color. So blue, sky blue is B flat. Really dark, almost purplish blue is like B natural.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why.
A
A is red.
A is red.
A is red. A flat is kind of red, reddish, brownish.
Mauve.
No, that's G. That's G. D is green.
D is green.
E is like almost like black, like the blackest black,
People
with like a little red, a little purple.
I like D is green.
D is green. I don't know why.
D is green.
F is purple. F sharp is purpler.
Purpler?
A little purpler than purple.
Purpler.
So yeah, and then there's the whole thing using effects kind of can bring out different colors.
Okay, so what you've made how many records under your name?
This is my third.
This is your third.
But I've done a lot of other stuff in various bands, but you know, as far as like Ben Tyree, this is number 2.
And so out of the 3 records, what is the thing that's motivating the music for you, like taking the 3 records as a progression? Where do you think, where did you start? And where are you now?
So where did I start with the first record?
With the first record,
So that
I mean, as a leader, as a player, where did you start? Where you start, and where are you now?
Well, then the first one actually, the one now is live album.
Sure.
It was recorded 4 years ago. It's the material from the first record, pretty much. But what I think better, because I think it needed to be in a live situation. The first record was a studio effort, and I love it. It's awesome. But that band and those songs really needed to be live. But when I did that first record, I had all these stray ideas. I had all these I could do this, I could do that, I could go here, I could go there. And I just, I had to just book studio time and just start doing something. Start doing something. Because I didn't know what to do with all those ideas. I couldn't bring them to like sideman gigs and other bands I was in. So, but that was a big undertaking for me, that first one. Financially, creatively, in every way possible. But it was like, I've always sought to surmount the insurmountable.
Dream
when it
possible.
When it comes to creating something, because I couldn't have thought I would have done any of this stuff. And a lot of it is just kind of articulating feelings and rhythms and things I'm hearing in my head, and then using them as a vehicle to get better, to become a better musician, a better person, a better improviser. It's all right stuff that I can't play. A lot of this then go into the second record, which is solo stuff. It was like I need to be way out of my comfort zone. I had a lot of studies in classes of guitar in high school and college, and I actually focused on it a lot. But at one point, I had to kind of give it up because it was like either I'm going to put a lot of energy into this, or I'm going to do some of my own stuff, and I couldn't do both. There's just not the time in the day to be good at everything, or to try to be good at everything, right? So the second record with the solo stuff is like, I'm going to write a solo guitar material that is going to challenge me that I couldn't play that stuff. It took me 10 years to be able to play that stuff before I was able to record it. You know, so just, and you know, the next thing I do, it's a lot of it is stuff I can't play right now. And I think it's going to be like that. I don't know. I mean, I hope. I mean, that's one of the joys I get out of music. Is like, wow, I don't understand that. I can't play that. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to play it. You know?
Nice. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ben Tyree.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your friendship and your support and everything.
Yeah.